Hi guys! In today's video, I'm going to be adding too much of everything into slime, and I've tried to find some things that I haven't seen done before, and I really hope that you enjoy this video. The first thing we're going to be adding too much of is putty, and I was really curious as to what this would do to the slime because, as most of you know, putty's kind of like slime, but it kind of has a more rubbery, plasticky feeling. So when I was mixing it in, I was kind of like, is this gonna ruin it completely? And then I was like, this is the whole point of the video, Tal, don't stress out. So I added about 8 pots, and when I was poking it at first, it felt just like a slime, really didn't have a different effect at all. It just had really awesome colors. So I started pulling up. Then I noticed my slime was really activating a lot. Obviously I hadn't added any activators since adding the putties. So I think there's an ingredient that makes the putty not melt, which also makes the slime overactivate. But it doesn't kind of keep the same effect on the slime as it does on the putty because I found that I could melt my slime down very easily. It's very hot in England at the moment, so I just left it on the windowsill by the sun and it turned into this amazing slime. As you can see here, very thick, very rubbery, and then it just starts falling smoothly. It's so creamy, had a gorgeous fruity smell as well. It just had a bit of a gross colour, but it's so easy to colour things. You can use any food colouring, or you can use pens, markers, whatever you want, and it's so glossy, clicky, and has amazing crunches. The next one's been one I've been curious about for so long, and this is adding too much pigment. I know that everyone kind of adds like a teaspoon worth, and sometimes they're like, oh, I added too much, but I was like, what if we really went over the top here and added a whole container? So that's exactly what I did, and at first it looked like it was going to turn it into a matte metallic slime, which I was really excited for, but then I realised that it was just the effect of the powder sitting on top, and as you can see, it was super metallic. So then my next mission was to get all the powders to stay in the slime, and I decided the only way to do this was to kind of gather it up, fold it in, and just stretch it out. And as you can see here, I've been playing with the slime for a while, and this is what it looked like when it was cloudy. So I was like, this is going to be super pretty when I just leave it. And after leaving it, as you can see here, a lot of the gold rose to the top, but underneath it was just beautiful. It was so breathtaking. I didn't find the texture change much, apart from the slime was really sticky when I started out, and then here it isn't sticky at all. It makes it kind of tougher, but not really. It doesn't dry it out. It's just an absolutely beautiful color, and it goes so textured when you play with it. The next thing we're going to be adding too much of is glitter, and the main reason for this is because it makes it so pretty when it mixes into slime, but I've noticed that when I add quite a lot, it does change the texture. So I was wondering what would happen if I added a ton of glitter. I used the mixture of big glitter and also like thinner pigmenty glitter. First thing that I noticed was that when I was mixing it in, the glitter started to stick really easily at first, and then the more I was pressing down on it, the more it was kind of just molding my finger shape into the slime and holding the pigment in kind of a suspension. So I wanted to mix it in more, and I started to drizzle it in the glitter. I noticed this wasn't really sticking though, so then I just went by the usual way of mixing it in, just like dropping parts in, trying to get the sticky parts out. Then I was like, this is taking ages, so I actually trapped some glitter in the middle of the slime and mixed it all together. This is what it looks like when it's cleared up. As you can see, it looks super textured on the top, and that's because it is. It really changed the texture of the slime from a nice sticky, flexible slime. It was still very stretchy, but it was very putty-like. The next thing we're going to be adding into slime is pom-poms, and this is mainly because I've seen a few of these added into slime, and I was just wondering what would happen if you added a whole pack. I started off with a really sticky clear slime just to ensure that I would get all the pom-poms in, and when I mixed them in, it was so soft. There wasn't much slime in the mixture because there was so many more pom-poms, so it didn't really stretch, but it had such amazing crunchy sounds, and it was so relaxing to squish down on it. Kinetic sand slime is one of the first slimes I ever saw on Instagram. I was really reluctant to waste my kinetic sand on it, so when it dried out a bit, as you can see here, it does just kind of not crumble as well, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it and add it in. And I thought this is going to make the slime maybe a bit tougher, but I found that when I was pushing it down, it was actually having a different effect. I found the slime started to dry out the slime a bit, and then I found that it was making it really sticky, which is really weird because they're complete opposites and you would expect the slime to just become harder. I also noticed that when I was stretching it out, it kind of looks like an icy slime, which is really interesting. So I started to add more kinetic sand just to see what would happen, and I just found that this was sticking to my hands like no tomorrow. As you can see here, I can barely get it off. It was so sticky, and the more I was playing with it, the more it was melting. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make this worse and add even more sand and see what happens. I know the slime activates when you add in your activator after, so I was really just looking to change the texture a bit more by adding some more sand in and getting it to melt, and I found that it melted fully. It just turned into goop, and I was like, maybe this will set. So after I mixed it all in, I just left it for a couple of minutes to see if it would become harder, but as you can see, it stays a squishy goop. So I decided to add loads of activator, and as you can see, this turns into probably one of my favorite slime textures ever. So thick, so doughy, it has like a nice little sizzle. It's also so stretchy, and I found the more I was stretching it out, the more air you can trap in it, and it makes the most amazing sizzly bubble sounds. Next up, we're going to be adding too much lotion because a lot of people have been telling me recently that when you add lotion into slime, it deactivates it. And I agree that it softens the slime, but I really don't think it takes any more activator when you're adding it into the mix. So I decided to add a whole bottle, and I added some colouring in as well just to make it a tiny bit prettier. And when I started to add my activator, I noticed that this activated very quickly, and it was really interesting for me because as you can see here, the slime is very thin and just not stretchy at all, but then as soon as you add in your activator, it becomes slime almost immediately. The one thing I did notice about adding too much lotion was that it makes it really kind of rippy, almost jiggly when you're playing with the slime. So it doesn't make it like a really thick slime consistency. It does have very good clicks. Obviously it makes the slime a lot bigger, but it's very loose. So I really don't recommend adding too much lotion because obviously it costs a lot of money and it also doesn't have the best effect on the slime. I also found it so interesting because people use lotion to fix hard slimes a lot, and I was just kind of wondering why they did this. Then I noticed when I was pulling it, it was just ripping the slime apart, so it obviously melts down the slime a bit, which is so interesting. I'm always being asked how to make a really jiggly clear glue slime, and I was really curious as to whether this would work because I know when I started making slime tutorials, I found clear slime so hard to make with water. By itself it's absolutely fine, but when you add in the water, sometimes it can kind of like separate. So I decided to add some glue, then I added a ton of water and started adding my activator, and I found that the glue was kind of doing what it did when I first started making slime, and it wasn't mixing in with the water much, it was just forming the slime at the bottom, and as you can see here, it's very stretchy, but it isn't really mixing it. I did try to carry on stirring it because I know sometimes with clear slime it activates the more you stir it, but I didn't find this was the case at all, so I just went in with some more activator in a hope to save it, but I found that this just made the slime at the bottom really hard, and again the water just stayed on top. So I was kind of like, how do I fix this? I don't want just a watery slime, so I decided to pick it up with my hands and start pulling at it. The one thing I found so interesting about adding this clear glue to the water is that it made it clear almost instantly. So even though it doesn't make a jiggly slime, it's a really good slime hack. I hope that you enjoyed enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and also feel free to leave suggestions in the comments. I read literally every single comment, so if you want me to do a specific vlog, a specific video, or more giveaways, just let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.